On this episode of ReLiterated, a young man's life goes awry when the outside world comes between him and his faithful companion. But there's no time to grieve, as the closest member of his family suddenly disappears, and he must follow the clues to track her down and bring to justice the men responsible for kidnapping the one he held so dear since the day he stole her from the nest. Go on a mission with Sam Gribley on the far side of the mountain on ReLiterated, the podcast that inspired the title of the movie, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. And welcome to ReLiterated, the lowbrow book club of grown-ass adults reading the children's books popular in the 1990s, but with 2020's hindsight. Fair warning, we use language too mature for kids, analysis too immature for literary scholars, and ignorance too profound to be inoffensive to everyone. Also, we talk about our books in depth, and that includes spoilers. So before you listen, be warned, if you're not familiar with the story, you're going to be spoiled. My name's Andy.
My name's Harold.
And I'm Josh.
And on today's episode, we have got a special guest. We have got none other than one half of the hosts of the Matty and Marky podcast. It is the great Matt Mays, also known as Matty Ice.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you the invite on the show today.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
You guys are talking about one of my favorite book series as a kid, so I had to be here for it.
This was one of Josh's favorites as well.
Well, the first book. I don't remember the second book very, very well. Well, I did as soon as I hit page 96. I was like, I did read this book. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You just forgot about it?
I totally forgot about it until I got to that page and I was like, oh, wait a second. I remember this entire thing now. Yes.
That was the first one definitely hit home for me. Like, it was just nostalgia driven like crazy. The second one, I remembered it, but it wasn't as memorable as the first one for sure.
What I think is the most mind-blowing thing about this sequel, On the Far Side of the Mountain, it was actually published in 1990, and the first one was published 31 years before it, in 59. So Gene Craighead George came back to this story after about 3 decades. And
It just took that long to write it.
I don't know if it took her that long or if she felt inspired one day in the mid 80s or late 80s to go back to it, but yeah, she continued the Gribley saga.
I could see it being like a thing where, it caught on more and more over time, and then finally she got tired of people like clamoring for a sequel. It's like, all right, fine, I'll write a damn sequel.
You kids and your won't quit bothering me about writing sequels. Jeez.
I imagine the adults were probably coming back to it and they were like, oh my God, we need a sequel for this book. I read My Side of the Mountain when I was a kid, and they didn't do what we did, which was read the book again as adults and go, Sam Gribley is a liar. He's a liar. So, I mean, I know that when I was a kid, these books, because I noticed I had read On the Far Side of the Mountain at some point while I was reading it. I'm like, I did read this book. Okay. Because I remembered when you just said there's a third book, I was like, yes, I remember at the back of On the Far Side of the Mountain, there was another book coming out and I just never read it. I think I aged out right after that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it really did make you feel when you were a kid, like I can go out in the woods and I could just live out there. But as an adult, you look at it, you're like, man, I've seen Naked and Afraid. Like,
yeah, I watched every season of Alone. This takes some work.
I don't know if that kind of tradition carries on even with like today's kids, but definitely when I was growing up, it was like, man, I do want to go live out in the woods and all that stuff. Like we grew up reading like Hatchet and stuff like that in school. So there were all these like kids surviving in the wild books to kind of pull from. So it was always in the back of my mind, just running away and living in a damn tree. So I don't know if that's the same for kids these days, if it's still like that, or if they want to run away to the virtual world now.
It wasn't really even the same in this second book in the series as it was in the first one, because it took like a pretty big like shift in like style and tone, and Like the first one was way more of a survival log, and this one's kind of an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's an actual plot to it and something to actually drive the story forward other than just like, let's see if Sam survives.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and here's a recipe for acorn pancakes.
Yeah. Hey,
So-
here's some poisonous tea.
Hey, you can eat cattails, you son of a bitch.
Right? The tubers. You got to have the tubers.
The tubers, yeah.
How many ways can you skin this deer?
How can this kid poach another animal this year?
Right? I always will remember. Well, I will always remember the deerskin door for his tree. That's the one thing I never forgot about the story, was how he had put a deerskin door on the tree, and that's how he kept from people finding him. And I always thought, like, there was a point where a ranger came around and he totally missed the deerskin door. Like,
That guy needs to be fucking fired.
right. I mean, a tree and deerskin are similar if you're at a good enough distance, but if you're standing right there, you know.
Yeah, he's standing by a fire, like a put out fire, and he doesn't have the like mind to look around like, oh man, that's a hole in tree. Let's check that out.
There's a whole bed in here. It's almost as if a child is living out here by themselves.
And what's this, a hawk perch? What the? Did he steal a falcon?
Well, and that's the beginning of the first book, or the second book, is that a conservation officer, what we believe is a conservation officer, is coming to take Frightful away from Sam.
So yeah, let's do a sum up real quick. Let's
Who wants
talk
to,
about
who wants
the
to
book.
take the 30 seconds or less summary of the whole book, and then we'll break it down.
Ooh,
If no one wants it, I got it.
you
Go for it, Harold, because I'll
Okay.
shit on it too much.
Okay,
Just the basics. Give us the basics of the story.
just the basics. So we start out with Sam is having a good old time. His family, all except for his sister, have left the mountain. His sister has her own treehouse at this point. They've got a whole little community thing going on. And a conservation officer comes and tells Sam that it's illegal for him to have a peregrine falcon because they are endangered. So he tells him he's going to take her away. He's going to breed her in captivity. She's going to the university. Sam gives in because he can't really fight it. And then he heads to town and finds out that the name of the conservation officer is correct, but he does not ask to see him because he's so downtrodden that, you know, he knows he can't fight this authority. So he goes up and, as Sam Gribley does, decides to figure out how to make everything work, and then notices he hasn't seen Alice for a couple days. Well, Alice is taken off. She leaves him a note saying she's thinking waterfalls. Bando comes in, and they go off on an adventure trying to find his sister Alice. Eventually, they realize that the guy who took Frightful was actually a poacher and not Leo Longhorn. And Sam sets a whole thing up to, great name. Sam sets a whole thing up to try and trap the poachers, and then he ends up thinking that, you know, Frightful must be dead because he finds a dead bird. And then it turns out, after he gets to his sister with no real conflict happening for him directly, because they end up getting a conservation officer to arrest the guys. There's a gun in this story for the faint of heart. And then at the end, Alice is trying to get one of these a goshawk off the side of a mountain, and it's more dangerous than Sam's first foray with Frightful. And he tells her to let it go because it's illegal to keep it. She lets it go, and then up in the sky they see Frightful, and he wants to call her back, but he decides, you know what, she's got to be free and mate out in the wild. And Bob's your uncle. That's Far Side of the Mountain.
And Bob's your uncle.
Bob's your uncle.
And then after this, there is...
That's as quick as I could do it, because I mean, there was a story here.
That was very
That was good.
Yeah.
You did
That's a good
awesome.
recap.
summary.
But I was going to say, after this, there are 3 more books that I did not know existed until today. Frightful's Mountain, which came out in 1999. Frightful's Daughter, which came out in 2002. That one's only 32 pages long. And Frightful's Daughter Meets the Baron Weasel. And that one's also
What?
short. So I think those are more like kids books. But
I did not even know those exist. I knew about Frightful's Mountain. I I read like the first half of it, and then it's like, man, I don't know if I can do this. But I did not even know about the other two.
I don't give a shit about this bird.
Yeah, fuck this bird. I just want to see more deerskin doors.
Yeah, teach me how to survive. I'm not a falcon.
I need these shitty drawings, please. How am I going to live out here?
I want to carve out a house out of a tree.
I've been drinking this sumac tea. I keep on going to the hospital. What the fuck is wrong with me?
Well, it wasn't the sumac tea because that's actually good. Sumac tea tastes like lemonade, actually. But no, it was like the royal primrose, which is part of the nightshade family that was the poisonous kind. So I don't know why I remember that, but I do.
You just really took a lot from this book to add to your life.
From the first book.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I did go out in the woods a lot, so.
So what did you guys, so compared to the first book, what did you guys think of the sequel?
My thoughts are that I believe in this period of time. It was the early 90s, probably like the late 80s or whatever. There was kind of a big push to like save endangered animals. I don't know if you guys remember that or like
save the rainforest. I remember.
Huge, yeah, saving the rainforest was huge.
Fern Gully.
Like, our third and fourth grade. Yeah, there's a lot of saving endangered animals, save the rainforest, environmentalism kind of boom in that period of time, and I think this may have been part of it. I mean, Gene Craighead George had always been like a conservationalist, naturalist kind of author, but this book seems directly inspired by that movement or as like a tool in that movement, literature that's friendly to that movement, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, yeah, it even like teaches like he had to trust the conservation officer in the first place, but he notes that he didn't look for a badge, he didn't ask for identification. And, then he doesn't do his due diligence to find out if the guy that's Leo Longhorn is the same person, because then they could have started the investigation early.
It's Leon Longbridge.
Leon Longhorn.
Leon Longhorn. It's so much better of a name.
Leo Longhorn.
Yeah, Sam noticed that he actually knew his shit when it comes to falconing.
Yep.
Also, karate.
Also, he does karate. So Sam came at him like with a knife to try to cut the straps or whatever, which if he was a real cop, he would have pulled a gun and shot Sam Gribley.
I mean, he's only 15, so...
But instead, he karate chops his wrists. It even says, it was a karate chop.
Well, karate was big in that time, yes, 89, 90, dude.
That was the heyday of karate as well, yeah.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Three ninjas,
yeah.
For real,
Beverly Hills Ninja.
Dude,
yeah.
you gotta read On the Far Side of the Mountain. There's some fucking karate in it.
There's karate.
There's karate in the book.
That was their push to sell it too. It's like, you'll never believe the sequel that's got karate in it.
We went from Dear Diary, today I made a nice salad out of some wild herbs and berries and whatnot, to so I came at him with a knife and then he karate chopped it out of my hand and he stole my falcon.
Damn.
Gene Craighead George.
Puberty is a bitch.
But bless her heart, she's old and doing in her 70s, maybe 80s or whatever. She died in 2012 at 94 years old.
man.
So she was trying to relate to the youth in her 70s. Yeah, crazy.
But at the time period was still if My Side of the Mountain happened in the year that book was published in 59. This would have been 1960, 61.
That's what I'm saying. She threw the karate in there because she saw that kids were getting away from the outdoors. She's like, these goddamn Nintendos and VCRs, and she was like, I need to write about, being out in the woods again. I mean, he actively hates on ever having to do anything with society. He's like, Sam Gribley's like, dude, if I have to go to the store one more time, I'm gonna fucking break. You know?
You know, looking back on this, when I read these books, because I read them back to back, just because the first book took my attention so much.
Okay.
I don't remember it being that much. It didn't feel like there was that much of a time gap between them when I read them. If you told me that they were like almost 40 years apart in like writing them, I would have called you a liar, because they just didn't seem like they're completely different books, but they don't have that much of a time gap in between the writing style of them.
No,
yeah, she did a very good job of transitioning. Like I was transported right back to that same forest that, you know, with Sam and, you know, Baron Weasel and all the people. It took me right back there. So the writing style, though it was a little bit different, it was still similar enough that it enveloped me back into that story, into that world.
Yeah. The first part of the book was definitely like a leveling up process of his lifestyle, where he's building a plumping mill, and he's building a sawmill or like a water wheel. So he's moving on from the basics of living out in the woods to more intricate like machinery and stuff, and still refusing Alice's attempts to get him to put electricity up in their
yeah, why is he being such a Luddite about that? Of all the things, it's like the one thing that would definitely improve your life, and you're against it? Ugh, seriously?
He says it just brings a bunch of noise, all the things that it powers. He wants to be able to hear the nature around
Have you
him.
ever heard a sawmill?
right?
Jesus Christ, those things are loud as fuck.
I can't say I've heard a water-powered sawmill, no.
I have. They're loud as fuck.
But it sounds like a waterfall.
The wheel is a constant waterfall. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, nature, damn it.
But they were able to start and stop that thing with the sluice gate.
Yeah.
Well, in true Sam Gribley style, he at no point mentions any slivers or banging his thumb or nothing. He perfectly assembles a water-powered sawmill dam setup.
Well, yeah, man.
There was a bit of a process of learning by watching how the beavers make dams.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and
that's
making
right.
their own dams. So
yeah, how
he didn't
could
go
you
to
forget
his
that?
precious books for that.
Yo. He had to follow nature. The beavers taught him.
He understands all of nature. He's a fucking Dr. Doolittle. He can talk to his hawk. He can talk to a horse. He can talk to fucking the weasel and all them.
The Baron Weasel.
Yep, there was a lot of him describing the different chirps and tones and ways he spoke with the animals in this book. He had like a specific way that he breathed in over his teeth to tell Frightful that he loved her or whatever.
Now if people look back on this book, they're like, man, this kid is just fucking insane. Like, there's something wrong with this kid.
There's something wrong with him. He's out there chirping at animals, refuses to live indoors, builds a water-powered sawmill. I mean, God.
He's a genius, but he's lost his mind.
Yeah. He's going to start an Adirondack furniture business, by the way. He's going in with Bando.
Yeah, he's going in the business of making furniture with Bando, who goes by Bando. Like, he doesn't gain his real name in this book. He's always
exclusively Bando.
He even gets a wife who calls him Bando.
Yeah.
Who he almost loses because he's refusing to put wood floors in his house.
Yeah. But he did, so he could save his marriage.
Yep. And he was told that by a 15-year-old boy who refuses society and lives in the woods with animals. Because that's where he's getting his life advice from.
Man, I gotta go talk with Sam about this. This is really eating me up inside.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I noticed one thing, like, there's a lot of descriptions in the beginning that just really got me. Like, the fact that he's like, yeah, we haven't had a deer since the roadkill. I'm like, ooh, roadkill, eh? That's a Michigan delicacy. I remember having a roadkill shirt, like a roadkill grill. It's like, you kill it, we grill it or something like that. And it was just a weird shirt.
Oh man, my grandpa was a DNR officer in northern Michigan, and he used to, part of his job was he would drive around like to pick up, you know, the deer that have been killed and stuff like that. and they would get all the meat processed and stuff and give it to like the schools around the area.
Oh, that's cool.
Like that was legit what they would do with the roadkill up there.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Hell yeah.
I used to work with a guy that I swear to God was proof that Neanderthals actually survived to the modern period. And he had a police scanner next to him. And anytime he'd hear a deer hit, he would take his lunch then. And he would like run to his car and drive out and get a license from the police officer that was there and fucking take that deer back and hang it up. But he was like, at first when I was younger, I was like, man, what the fuck? And he's like, hey, I got meat all year round. I'm like, what? Like
he runs out the fucking door like the ice cream man's coming.
But a guy hit by a car. But now I'm like, I mean, if it's fresh,
Yeah. Same
only a
as
little
if it
bit
got
of bad
shot,
meat
right?
on it, yeah.
he's not wrong.
So when he goes to town, this dude loads up. Like if something happens. Why didn't he do that in the first book? In the first book, he was not a prepper. Now he's like, oh, what if I twist my ankle? Oh, I might be stuck out here. He didn't have those worries in the first book.
I think he was too worried about getting his hair cut. In the first book, he was just all he wanted was the book from the library and to get his hair cut. He wasn't worried about getting like medical supplies or anything because he didn't get injured. He was Sam fucking Gribley.
Right.
He doesn't have to worry about that kind of stuff.
Maybe this is part of the growing up process.
Now he's
He
worried.
realizes, oh shit, maybe something could happen to me, so I better be prepared.
The part he doesn't tell us about is when he lost a toe to gangrene. He's like, fuck, man, infection's real.
Maybe
lost a
that's where the
toe.
big toe came from in the
Yeah, I was
going
gonna say family found it and ate it.
Yeah, family found it and ate it.
Oh, God.
Sliced it up into 5 pieces.
Does he worry as much in the second book about being like captured or whatever?
He mentions it, but it's like offhandedly.
He doesn't care now because he's living on the family land, and he makes a mention of, oh, did Dad forget to pay the taxes on the land? So I think he's okay now because he's living on his family's property.
They're doing correspondence school.
Yeah. So
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do remember that.
But yeah, I remember the thoughts that were going through his head when he saw the quote-unquote conservation officer coming at him. He was like, oh shit, what's... Like, they're going to take me back? Are they going to make me go to a real school? Or are you going to, like, do I have to get off the land because Dad didn't, like, miss a tax payment or something?
I remember that exact page because he talks about just grabbing Frightful and just fucking booking it.
He's thinking about doing that.
yeah, he was like,
he's
maybe
just like,
that.
all right, let's go. I can live off of absolutely nothing.
Yep. Yeah. I'm Sam fucking Gribley, man.
Well, later on, he was trying to figure out how he could get it back. And one of the things was he was like, oh, I could write the president. And then this is quoted from the book. That won't work. The president swore to uphold the Constitution and laws of the United States when he took office. So, yeah, that is something that does take place at some point.
I mean,
Or
that's
supposed to.
definitely what you want to be telling kids is supposed to happen.
That's what's supposed to happen, kids.
Yeah, yep.
Supposed to. I also have a issue with, after he loses Frightful, how he's trying to come up with a way to get food and be able to, take care of him and Alice. And he's like, I could set traps. Yeah, that's a good idea. But then he's like, I'll use a sling. Why? You know about a bow and arrow, right? Those aren't hard to make.
Yeah, he doesn't think to take up archery. He thinks to take up a sling.
Yeah.
The Roman skill of slinging stones.
Well,
Yeah.
one of the reasons was that like the ammunition would be everywhere because they're just fucking stones, and you'd have to make your own arrows and all that. So starting with a sling.
He has, no time to do that. He lives in the fucking
Right.
forest.
And he's got a store of food for like 4 people.
Yeah. Hell, he could just make a spear, and that would work better than a goddamn sling.
Man, learning the sling has to be one of the hardest things to learn how to use.
I would
Yeah.
assume.
Mm-hmm.
Like way more difficult than a fucking bow and arrow.
And what does he use for the string for the sling?
Rawhide.
So
Yeah,
he
sinew.
basically sinew is what you would use for a bow and arrow string.
Exactly.
Yeah, for a bowstring.
So yeah, not smart on that point. But
yeah, I think he's just a little overconfident, and that's just the Sam Gribley in him. He's like, man, I'm gonna make one of the most ancient forms of fucking hunting rabbits that I can
I am
make.
the David in this Goliath of a fucking forest right now.
Yeah.
I guess he didn't read that book on archery. I think if the book was made these days, he might take up a bow and arrow, because look how many fucking archer characters are out there, like in the past decade,
Right.
with all that popularity. You got your Hawkeye, you got your Katniss Everdeen, you got Princess Brave, you got
Dude
Legolas
from
the Elf.
Lord of the Rings.
Yep, there's a lot of archers in popular fiction.
Archery's cool as shit, man.
It
Like,
is.
oh yeah, it's super fun.
It is.
the whole idea of someone being able to just sneak around in the forest and just take you out without you even knowing about it is it's pretty sweet. Stealthy.
You wouldn't know where it's coming from. Like the sound, when you hear the sound is right before it hits you, because arrows are creepy.
Oh.
Well, I guess you just follow the feathered end to where it's coming from.
Well, what if you spin around though?
I guess.
You're like, wait, now I gotta do math? What angle does that come from?
Oh, well, the trajectory is for that general direction.
At this force and this wind speed, this is where, oh shit, he hit me with another arrow.
He had a second arrow. Fuck.
Shit.
He's got to have a quiver of these fucking things.
It's like some kind of goddamn bow guy.
Bow guy.
Bow guy. Sam the bow guy Gribley.
Sam the
Just
bow
chilling
guy
in the
Gribley.
woods.
Sam the
Nope.
slinger.
He's the sling master.
he's
yeah,
the
he's
sling
the sling
man.
master.
Sling master Gribley. But now, how did he discover that was it was a poacher and not Longbridge or whatever his name was?
Didn't they catch him talking with like a Middle Eastern, like an Arab guy? They were doing like a fucking transaction.
Yeah, they
or
were
something.
selling
Oh,
falcons.
yep.
It was much later in the book where
It was about page 96 when I figured out. I was like, wait, I have read this book. Because then I remembered all of it. I was like, wait, because he's not real. Because at the beginning, I was like, I don't think he's a conservation officer. That's what I was thinking in my head. And that's why when I got to the end, I was like, that's why, because I have read this book. Dang it, that's right.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Well, Sam
it's
scares
much
away that
farther.
coyote that killed the
Yeah.
goshawk. And then his sisters left a note like, oh, the coyote's so nice and sweet.
let's get coyote puppies.
And then the coyote's dead because the poachers killed him.
Yeah, meanwhile his sister is leaving like these dumbass cryptic notes everywhere. It's like, hey, can you just fucking tell him where you're going?
That
No,
was
they have this
something that was
game.
weird.
They
Yeah.
have this game between the two of them where they play like a come find me type game where they leave cryptic clues to, I guess, practice tracking, maybe.
It's advanced
So-
hide and go seek,
Advanced hide and go seek.
which was in another book that we discussed.
Except we didn't get a rundown of the rules in this
Yeah.
one because we
Yeah.
learn as we
'Cause-
go. We observe it happening, and it's enough.
This one's different though because she straight up says, "Don't follow me," and then he follows her.
Well, he's really concerned about his young sister.
About that. It's very strange how creepily he's like wanting to follow her and his thought process on it. It was weird.
I don't know.
Seemed...
He wanted to take care of his sister. He was like, I was actually concerned with how long he waited before he was like, you know what? I'm going to go follow.
She had several days head start.
Yeah. I was
Got
actually
this falcon thing over here, sister missing over here. What do I don't know.
And she was traveling with a pig.
right.
Oh, speaking of her, so there was something in this book that really irritated me. So Alice stole mercury from a farmer and
To
made
make
a
a mirror.
mirror.
Yep.
Okay, mercury is super toxic.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to figure out how she tried to do this mirror without doing that, because I looked up about how to make mercury mirrors and they are not easy to make. They are very difficult. It was at one point there was a country that basically outlawed, if you made mirrors, you were not allowed to leave the city. Also, your lifespan was very short because you made mirrors. Basically, as soon as you started making mirrors, 8 years later, you were dead.
Wow.
So didn't
yeah.
So a mercury mirror used to be like a real thing, like a widely known thing.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
never even
just-
heard of mercury mirrors.
Yeah, they were basically popular from the Roman era, even then to like the 30s. I think they said they stopped making them when they were able to make aluminum that was just as good.
Okay.
I binged mercury mirror and I got a whole bunch of results for like side view mirrors for 2011 Mercury. 2005
That art has
Mercury
been
mirror.
lost.
Where have you been all my life? This is exactly what I've been looking for.
Oh, cool. I get cancer every time I get to comb my hair. Perfect.
Well, if I had money, tell you what I do. Go by downtown, buy a mercury mirror. I had to change it, otherwise we would have gotten sued, right? I think that's how that works.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys just got a copyright strike.
Yep.
Yo.
Sounded too much like the real thing.
So, like, when Bando and Sam are worried about two entirely different things going into trying to get this whole Falcon situation taken care of, because, right, Sam decides he has to go after his sister, right? And Bando decides to go back and go get a conservation officer. And then Sam runs into the conservation officer?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that how it works?
Which conservation officer?
He ran in there. He got one that. Who was the conservation officer that pulled the gun? Because it wasn't the Longbridge guy.
No, it wasn't. Because Leon Longbridge is not. Well, I mean,
It was
Leon Longbridge
it was not Leon
is
Longbridge.
a conservation officer, but it wasn't the guy that took Frightful.
Right. But
Just impersonating
also
Leon Longbridge.
Leon Longbridge, the real guy, never shows up and like.
Yeah, we
you
never
know,
see that the real dude.
Yeah.
There, he was in the office when Sam went to visit, but he never went in and actually spoke with him, so he didn't confirm that the real Leon Longbridge is not the man that took Frightful.
Right. So Leon Longbridge is now forever besmirched because he doesn't get to rectify it by shooting the poacher. at the
Yeah,
end
why
of the
didn't
book.
she just make Leon Longbridge the guy that does that?
Yeah, the real guy.
There was
Just
a
makes a
completely different
nameless
guy.
conservation officer do it.
conservation. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
That would have been
Let's add another character into this crazy fucking story.
Dude, there's always a B story.
He's more
The
important.
the B story is that she doesn't want to give Longbridge. I think that Longbridge is a name of somebody she doesn't like, and she wanted to make sure that the name was forever besmirched.
He's a fucking dickhead,
Yeah.
and she wanted everyone to know it.
That's not the B story I thought you were gonna go for.
Yeah.
There's another B story, right?
That's the one I caught on to. I was focused on this Longbridge guy.
You're so laser focused on those.
You just
Longbridge
really
guy.
liked his name.
He's
I
like-
didn't. It, to the point where I messed it up and called him Longhorn.
Longhorn is so much better.
It
though.
is. It is.
Longhorn is the name of the guy who actually shot. That's what's up. You figured it
Leon
out.
Longhorn is the most redneck superhero name I've ever heard in my entire life.
What are the other B stories? What are these other B stories?
Well, you mentioned it's something in the context of I don't know, maybe Sam Gribley's love life.
He does finally meet a woman, kind
He
of.
does.
He meets
Yeah,
a pretty girl who definitely is coming on to him.
for sure. And she seems to know who he is and what his life is like.
Yeah, he does not pick up on it.
Does she seem interested in that lifestyle?
I don't know that she
not the
seems
lifestyle.
interested in him.
No,
at the
you know
very
what?
least.
You know what it is Alice in her travels comes onto this farm with the pig, makes friends with this young girl that lives at that farm, stays there for a couple days, does some odd jobs there, and then the two girls take their pigs to some 4-H hog show or whatever, and Sam tracks her there eventually. But Alice has already moved on. But then when he goes to like the pen where Crystal, the pig that Alice has been traveling with, is currently at. The girl, the friend, Alice's friend that she met, trying to find the part of it. Hanny? Yeah, that's her name. Like, she comes on to Sam, like, big time.
Oh, for sure.
It's because Alice has taken on the name of basically royalty in the one of the rich families in town.
Oh, that's right.
It's like Van Andelaire or something like that.
Van Rastenskeller or something.
Van Rastenskeller.
But he says, I think she knows I'm Sam Gribley. Like, she knows I'm the kid that lives in the woods.
Because she thinks he's so dumb. She's like, did you get the clue? Do you get it? Like,
Yeah.
She's definitely throwing some signals there. The Van Rensselaers.
Van Rensselaers, yep.
Like, I know you're not actually that person, but your sister talked you up big time, so...
The Van Rensselaers were the feudal lords of what is now Albany County. Before we were a democracy, in fact in the 1600s, they were given hundreds of thousands of acres of land by the Dutch king, all of Albany County. Blah, 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 blah. Van Rensselaers made fortunes and became a powerful and influential family. And Alice was going by Alice Van Rensselaer, and so her brother Sam would be Sam Van Rensselaer. And it turns out that was a hint to where she was going eventually. It was near Rensselaersville. And I think that's the town where it ends up.
It is. I'm looking for your B story, man. I'm trying to find your B. I'm trying to hear the B story.
The B story is that Sam is not interested in girls. He's just interested in falcons. Like, Frightful.
Yes.
Frightful is the love of his life.
Yep.
Yes, he does kind of have a thing for all animals except for pigs.
He fucking that bird.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hates pigs.
That was not at
He
all
hates
where I
pigs.
thought you were going.
Yeah, he ain't fucking that pig, but he gonna fuck that bird.
No, I don't know what kind of B story that was, but
That is a B story. I am interested.
yeah.
Yeah, this kid is 15 years old. I remember when I was 15 years old, I know what I was doing a lot of. It wasn't just sitting in the woods
Fucking
writing.
birds.
Fucking
That's what it
Yep,
was.
fucking falcons. That's what I was.
Yo.
Jesus.
Falcon's probably got some tight sweatpants on. With juicy on the back.
Nope, crunchy. It says crunchy on the back.
Says crunchy.
I made sure it said crunchy.
What would a falcon have on the butt of sweatpants? Feathery.
Ooh, I'll get him.
Flighty.
Flighty. There you go.
Oh my God. We have ruined my childhood book in every conceivable way.
That is the ReLiterated philosophy.
That is our way.
We ruin childhoods weekly, every Tuesday at midnight.
Parts of ours every week. A little bit of our souls.
A little bit of our childhood
killed.
gets chipped away.
Yeah. I did find a fun fact, though, about beavers, about their dams. So what they do is, as an instinct to stop the sound of water leaks, so even if a speaker is playing the sound of running water, a beaver will do what it can to try to build a dam over it. They even did a study where they put a speaker on concrete with no water anywhere, but they played the sound of water leaking and they still tried to cover it up.
Wow.
So if they would have just let the sound of water running, they wouldn't even had to do it. The beavers would have did it for them. So take
That's
that as it were.
interesting. I didn't know that the beavers are just on a quest to silence that water.
They're like, I can't take it.
Beavers are here to plug up every hole on Earth.
Oh my God.
I watched a
fucking
video.
hate
It was
running
pretty
water.
funny. It was a person had a speaker playing, and a beaver took like this throw pillow from their couch. This was like their pet, and they put it on top of the speaker. And I was like, "Holy shit, that's funny!"
Someone with a pet beaver.
I know, crazy, right?
You say you found this video? You should post it.
I will try to find it again.
Yes, please.
And then I will post it.
I'd be cool with a pet beaver.
They have the scent glands, so they stink real bad.
Wait. I want to say that in Josh's summary, Josh, you wrote all of the summary.
Yeah, most of it, yeah.
Okay, so you wrote a lot of emphasis on maps. GPS became available for public use in 1993. Yeah, well, Sam Gribley lives in 1957, bro.
Yep, I know. I just wanted to see when that was popular. He lived in 1957, but the book was published in 1990. So
Sam
maps were still important.
But he didn't have 90s technology, even though the book was published in 1990.
Still a fun
No,
fact.
man, it's Sam fucking Gribley, dude. You don't know what he had.
Yeah, you don't know what he had.
He can't get injured.
Yeah.
He's got some technology we don't even have right now.
He probably can see through Frightful's eyes. He's like Beastmaster out there.
Mm.
He doesn't like pigs because they don't listen to him.
Yeah. They dig up my garden. They're also awesome at finding truffles. So
Yeah, you win some, you lose some, Gribley.
Right.
Fuck you.
So in the process of tracking down Alice, Sam and Bando come across like interesting messages being left around town from like a person named Scree to I don't know, somebody else, but what's the name of the other? I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Uncle Bob.
because it was about the. It was about
Bob's
the.
your uncle. That's for
Uncle
sure.
Bob. Yep. From Scree to Uncle Bob.
Oh my god.
But these clues, the book basically turns into a Nancy Drew novel where they crack a mystery of poachers.
What's wrong
and
with
they-
Nancy
they-
Drew novels,
They bust some
Andy?
poachers. Nothing, but it becomes a very different story from the first book in that this is more of a mystery adventure type deal.
For sure. Yeah. It had a lot more going for it in that area.
They use these clues to bust some poachers. They discover that Leon Longbridge is not Leon Longbridge, but
A lazy conservation officer that doesn't do shit through this whole story.
right,
But
the actual Leon Longbridge is too lazy to even show up.
Yeah, so they got to get someone from another town to get over here to take care of his
Yeah,
shit.
a nameless man has to
Nameless
shoot some
man.
other people.
Oh, man.
I think it's Officer Conklin.
Yeah.
The
That
only-
sounds about right.
The real hero of the story.
Bando goes and gets the local conservation officer, the one who actually gives a shit, the one
Sean
the
Conklin.
one who wants to see some action. So he brings his gun,
Fuck yeah, he
And
does.
arrests-
This is America, dude.
arrests the poachers, busts them up for trafficking endangered species.
Why? I got a question for you.
Shoot.
Why do they sell it? Why do they got to bring an Arab guy into it? Like, why is that the guy that's going to buy a rare falcon on on Sam Gribley's farm in wherever the hell they are?
Because falconry is very, very popular among the royal class of people in like Saudi Arabia, in the Middle East. It's it's a very big sport still. And
Is it really?
yes, especially because a lot of the birds are very rare. And so they have to spend a lot of money, which they have because of the oil.
All these
so it's
Arab sheiks can afford to break American laws.
basically, yeah.
Man, okay.
So
So that actually had some.
yeah, it has
It's
a
had a
historical
point to
context,
it.
and it's still to this day it's still that way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, in 1990 would be a big kind of
Ooh, yeah, because that
revelatory
was the
thing
Gulf
about
during the Gulf
Arab stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, when was the Gulf War? 91?
Interesting.
yeah. The Desert Storm, I think, was 91.
I don't
Or
know.
maybe
Do
it
you
was 90.
think Craighead
Still.
was trying to do something with that Arab stuff,
No.
or do you think it was just because of the falconry being
it was
popular?
mentioned. It was just mentioned as a reason why someone might want to buy a falcon, whatever. But it
I mean,
didn't.
50K is a
necessarily
lot for a falcon.
Villainize Arabs in general.
Right.
Yeah,
I think
$50,000 is a lot to spend on a falcon, though. So
It is.
a Saudi prince would have that kind of money.
He would.
Have you guys ever seen the falcons when they're at the Renaissance Festival?
I have not.
No, I can't.
Mm-mm.
I've never been to the Renaissance.
What? Oh,
I know. I'm going this year.
snap.
This year is
This
the
is
game
the year,
changer.
baby.
well, you missed out.
I'm gonna like vlog it and everything.
You missed out because one of the best performers has passed away. Rest in peace, Dead Bob.
Dead Bob. He wasn't a falconer. He was a skeleton.
No, he was just a really good comedy show.
He was, yes.
But no, one year I went and there was a guy with falcons, and it was really, really cool because he was out where they did the jousts. And he would like give them meat and stuff, and he'd throw the meat out, and they would come down super fast and attack. Oh, it was really cool. So highly recommend checking it out if you ever have a chance to see falconry in live.
That would be pretty neat. Let's all go. Let's all go to the Ren Fair.
Yeah, when are you coming up this summer,
down.
Josh?
It won't be in August or September, which is when the Renaissance Festival is.
Well, you got to change those plans up, buddy.
Yep.
Oh, man. Well, we'll see what I can do, because I think your guys' Renaissance Festival is in September, after Labor Day. Isn't that when you guys have yours is?
That sounds about.
We'll look into
that sounds
it.
About right.
Yeah.
I'm being in it right now.
Just
We'll get those dates for you.
make the plans and we'll get the dates.
Just so we can go see falconry.
Yep. I'll buy the mutton.
You'll buy the mutton.
Yeah, I'll buy us all the mutton.
The big old turkey legs.
Those things are insane, man.
I've always wanted one.
I went over to Mark's like for like Sunday football one day, and they had made some up, and it was it was the most insane piece of meat I have ever eaten in my life. It was like 15 times the size of a chicken wing.
They just made up mutton to
Yeah, they just made
person.
mutton. I don't know if they like got it from the Renfest and then rewarmed it or whatever, or if like I don't remember. You'll have to ask Mark, but I definitely ate mutton at his house, and it was disgusting to watch me eat it. I actually felt disgusting that other people were witnessing me eat that food, because I felt like a Viking from the Nordic. Like, it was bad.
Oh man, that's great.
Grease on the face. There's like skin in my beer. It's just wrong. And
Okay, so
amazing.
We're saying mutton, but it's definitely just a giant turkey leg, right?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
it's just a gigantic
Mutton
turkey
is
leg.
Mutton is
actually
sheep.
lamb.
Yeah,
it's
it's
sheep.
sheep.
Yeah.
I just call it mutton because
It's
that's
what-
what. Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that just in case.
Yeah, because we can't afford a giant lamb.
Starts
fucking-
like mid-July, I think. That's what I'm seeing here.
that early. I would like to try actual mutton.
Oh, wait,
though.
this
That would
is the
be
Enchanted
pretty badass.
Forest. This is.
I
is
had
that the
lamb
same
chops
thing?
for the first
Vassar?
time
No, it's
probably about
Holly
6
is what I
months
want.
ago, and it was absolutely delicious. I would like to try mutton as well.
Lamb is amazing.
Oh my God.
It's like I've had like Indian curry with lamb instead of beef or chicken, and it's amazing. So good.
Andy,
I
you're
don't know.
getting dates for Renfest?
Yeah.
Okay, so
2022
Far
dates
Side of
are
the Mountain.
unconfirmed.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go back to the far side of the mountain. So we've busted up the poaching ring, or at least the sale of a couple
Yep.
of birds, but Frightful is not among the birds being sold.
And then Alice is going to get a goshawk, which Sam is really playing up how goshawks are like 15 times as bad as peregrine falcons. I think he says 10 times as bad.
He said they're the most ferocious of birds like that. So I'm like, okay.
Definitely more vicious than Frightful's parents that he stole her from. Is how he's trying to sell it.
Yep. And she gets to it and everything too. She's like backing up, ducking and weaving from the goshawk, and then she takes and he tells her she's got to give it back. She's got to let it go.
She just wanted to replace his bird because she knew how much Frightful meant to him.
What a sister.
What a sister.
He should have known. I could tell right off the bat. I'm like, she's going to get him another bird.
Yeah, she's going to get him another bird.
Of course she knows Frightful's gone, dude. She fucking lives there.
Yeah.
She fucking lives there, bro.
You gave her a note.
Yeah.
She read your note and she made up her mind quickly. She's going to replace Frightful
Yep.
with another endangered species that
Yeah.
may be taken. But hey,
Yep.
there's always more endangered species out there, right?
But hey, no, they learned that lesson though, because they do see Frightful and he decides not to call her so that she can go out and have a family, because pretty much the way he raised her, being out in the wild like that, and since Sam Gribley pretty much speaks Falcon, you know, She didn't know any different.
And he said that she had imprinted on him, which means that she thinks that she looks like him and is not going to mate with another peregrine falcon. Although she does start like a courtship dance in midair with another one early in the book,
and does
right?
he get jealous? Oh, he gets so jealous.
Yeah, he gets jealous.
Yeah.
He calls her to him. He's afraid that she's going to leave him.
How
See,
dare
there's
you?
the B story. He's a jealous lover.
He
Get the
is.
fuck back here, you hussy.
Don't you go run it off on me now.
I don't even know if that's officially a B story. I think that's more of a
Straight up part of the story.
That's main line
It's the
right
main
there.
line.
This is back to fucking falcons again.
secret. It's between the lines. It's subtext. Subtext is the word I'm looking for.
Every few pages, he's like, "Oh, and I almost forgot about Frightful," or "Oh, it made me forget about her for 2 minutes." It's like, yeah, he's fucking that bird.
He's going through a bad breakup with that.
He
bird.
is.
Well, she was stolen by the government.
No, it wasn't the government. Government was
The fake government.
As
Government
far
was
as he
in
knew,
his
it
office.
was the government.
plowing donuts. He's like, I'm Leo Longbridge. They're like,
As sure as my name is Leo Longhorn, I love my job.
I love my job. I will conserve nature. You know what I love about my job? There's a little boy up there, Sam Gribley. He's taking real good care of Peregrine Falcon. I've been leaving him alone.
He's taking care of all the poachers for me. I ain't got to do shit.
Yeah, I do shit. Yo.
So yeah, it ends with the heartbreak of saying goodbye to an old friend so that she can go on to be in a sequel.
Which we might read.
I don't know. I wonder what Frightful's Mountain would be like. Is it from so you've read part of that? Is that, Matt? Is that part of?
It is literally from Frightful's perspective.
Okay.
The whole
Nice.
story of both books from Frightful's
Does she
perspective.
pine for Sam?
She is preening all over the place for something.
Tale of romance between a bird and her mother,
It's disturbing that we have
Sam Gribley.
shaped these books based on this, but it makes sense. Sam Gribley is definitely fucking that bird.
Hey man, it's a disturbing thing to see what's happening behind the scenes in these stories. We didn't see it
These
when
B
we were
stories
kids
are-
because
Yep. wrong.
Yeah.
Now that we're grown ups, we can see these. We see you, Gene Craighead George.
we see through it. I saw.
I'm curious if you guys can make it through that book, because I could not. And if you guys decide to sit down through it, even if I'm not on that episode, I will still read through that book just to see if maybe things have changed.
Yeah, I'm interested, but I'll be honest, I did not make it through actually reading this book. This is the first book for any episode of this podcast that I surrendered and did the audiobook instead.
This one was difficult to read.
Up till when the actual story picks up at, again, page 96 is when that's when it gets fun, because up until then it's very boring. There are literal chapters where he goes and he's like, I'm sad, I'm gonna read my journal, and that's just
Inside
like
a survival log.
yeah.
I'm
And
gonna read excerpts from the first book to you right now.
And what that did, it reminded me, like, I watched quite a few anime shows. I'm watching one called Black Clover right now, and they do these episodes where they just go and tell you an old story so that they could just like, okay, we don't have anything this chapter, so we're going to give you an old story that has nothing to do with the actual story, but it's kind of interesting. I skip those because they have nothing to do with the actual storyline. That happened in this several times, and I'm just like, I don't give a fuck about you making the goddamn mill. It's fine.
It's
I
like
don't know.
it's like halfway through A New Hope, they like show the whole Solo movie. They go back to A New Hope.
Right. Well, and that's the thing about that watermill. Like, at first, like, it took me a second. Like, the watermill was there, and then the watermill wasn't there, and they were working on the watermill, and I was like, wait a second. And I had to go back again and listen. I'm like, okay, we did do a time change.
And then it wound up not really mattering to the story of finding Frightful.
Nope.
Or finding Alice and then finding Frightful.
Or anything
They had to
in
use the
general.
sawmill. They had to use the sawmill.
They had to use the sawmill on their quest to find Alice.
Yeah, to make more Adirondack chairs. You gotta get the business going.
It was a plot device to bring Bando into the story so that he can help Sam on his quest.
Yep,
Even though he's his neighbor now. Bando lives like 2 miles down the road from him.
Was that their permanent address, or was that like
I think that's their permanent address.
It was like, yeah, that was their summer home. Hey, I want to move next to Sam for the summer.
And still go by Bando.
Not my real name. Legally change my name? I would no longer like a last name or a middle name. Just Bando.
See, I met this kid in the woods who thought I was a bandit, so he called me Bando, and I kind of like that name more than my real one.
Don't send anyone over there, though. He's a good kid, I promise. Yeah. He's learning all the stuff.
Definitely don't take his bird. He loves that bird.
Yo.
Definitely fucking that.
Well, definitely fucking that bird. You know what's funny too is that Bando's wife is a lawyer, and at no point does Sam go, "Hey, you know,
what's my legal recourse?"
But she does say, well, "I was wondering how long it was going to be before they'd come up there," and it's like,
yeah, she basically confirms, "Yeah, no, what you're doing is super illegal."
Yeah, what you're doing is super illegal, and you shouldn't have been so flaunty about it.
They never say how the poachers found Sam, though. That was one thing that was
his story became pretty well known, I think, as the boy living out in the wilderness. Isn't that like how his family found him? Because he was
he's
kind of making stories, like the news was kind of following him a little bit.
Well, yeah, he's picking strawberries for old ladies, feeding fucking high school kids on their lunch breaks and shit. Like, the dude is not making it very difficult to find him.
Right. He's not Batman hiding in a cave.
He's just hiding in a tree.
Sam fucking Gribley, the boy who lives in a tree in the woods.
Gets no cuts.
No broken bones.
Or diarrhea or anything.
Yeah.
Doesn't know how to make a bow and arrow.
So, would you guys recommend people read this book? Or just after listening to this, you wouldn't really need to? I don't think so.
I feel like you just read the first book, and if it's like, man, I really want to know more about Sam Gribley and his astonishing tales of craftsmanship, then you go and read the second book. But just the first book is amazing, and then just end it there. You don't. I personally don't think you need to read this book.
I say read the first chapter, then go to page 96 and read the rest of the book, because that's when it's good.
Yeah, unless you're a big fan of the first book, then like read just pages 2 through 95.
Yeah.
Well, and the first book is still good, and I will always have the nostalgia of it. But I mean, I remember when I was reading it, I was falling asleep paragraph after paragraph. That was a hard book to read because it was just him talking about his day to day. And I remember it being interesting, but as an adult, I'm like, dude, there's no way you did this. And then the second book I did find more exciting because there was an adventure that took place afterwards. And I was really interested in this water wheel that I'm like, I don't believe you. I don't believe that you built that. So yeah, I don't think you really need to read this one, but it was fun.
I'm curious. Have you guys done Hatchet on this show
Not yet? I have it. I own it.
Have you guys read that book?
Oh, I've read it several times.
I've never read Hatchet.
I read it in school.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay.
Oh, I can't wait to read it.
Shoot me a text when you guys do that episode, because I read this book after that one, and there's definitely, they're in that same genre of, boy tries to survive nature, but this one's definitely more like, well, everything works out, and somehow shit doesn't fuck up at all in the slightest, even though everything should mess up around every corner, and then Hatchet is the exact opposite.
Yeah. It's Castaway, but up in Alaska. and a child.
I'm excited for Hatchet myself because, like I say, I've never read it. So
Yeah, that book.
it's rad.
I'd imagine it'd be interesting to go back to now compared to when I was like 10 or 12 or whenever we read that. But I'd imagine it would still hold up, and kind of like My Side of the Mountain would. Like, for the most part, it holds up. It's just a little ridiculous. And this one, it's a cool, in my mind, it's a cool sequel to add to the story. And like you said, it adds that like adventure aspect that first book kind of needed, but still a little ridiculous.
Some trail tracking action leading to a Hardy Boys, Nancy Drew style poacher takedown.
I still will always say that if I was sitting here listening to Sam Gribley tell me these stories, I would be rolling my eyes so hard that they would probably like detach from the retina or whatever and fucking start spinning in my head. It'd be like, oh, I'm sure you did that.
Right. Yeah.
I bet you rode a tiger.
I got my journal here.
Yeah, I bet you rode a tiger into town too, didn't you?
All right. Well, first of all, let's thank Matty Ice for joining us on this episode. It was great having you.
Thank you for having me, and yeah, it was fun being here for the show. I'm glad we were able to do a collaboration this time, especially with having you on last season of our show as well.
For real, yeah, that was a good time. If our listeners for some reason don't know your show, go ahead and plug your show a little bit.
Yeah, we'll do a little plug here. So I am Matty Ice from the Matty Ice and Marky Mark podcast. We do a weekly show about video games, food. Mark and I both work at video game stores. We share our store stories and experiences from those, and then kind of memories of growing up with video games. We just ended our 6th season of the show with our 2021 awards show. We'll be starting our show up again early January. In the meantime, I'm doing this. Mark and I will be doing some streaming here and there. And then I don't know if we can break the news to everyone about another collaboration. That's up to you, Andy.
Indeed,
if you want to talk
yes,
about
I was leading into that. See the pieces falling into place next week. Next week, we're actually going to be having a bit of a Christmas extravaganza crossover episode where the hosts of both our podcast and the Matty Ice and Marky Mark podcast are going to join forces and discuss a book based on a video game. We're going to be discussing the Metal Gear adaptation from the Worlds of Power series.
Yeah, I am pretty fucking excited to read this. I've started it a little bit. Thank God I have these ReLiterated bookmarks to keep my place in this book. But my favorite thing about this right now is just that they literally stole Kyle Reese from Terminator 1 and put him on the cover of not only this book, but the video game as well, which I cannot imagine they paid the fee for on that one. This has to be just straight Nintendo ripping off everything.
Yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of research onto that side of the Lord. We'll discuss that on next week's episode.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. And everybody will all be in the same room for this.
Yes. That's another piece
this will
of
be a
news.
new one
Josh
for
is
you
coming
guys.
back
Yes.
home.
Josh
For
is
a
coming
few
home.
days.
In Michigan for about a week. And so, yeah, it's going to be fun. I haven't seen these guys since before the COVID. So excited to see everybody.
Wow.
And get together and make a fun podcast about a book I've never read, but I heard is crazy. So I'm excited to read it on the plane since I'm going to be in the sky for a while.
Yep, this is going to be
You
fun.
got 122 pages to go, man. Actually, literally 122 pages. Holy shit.
Nice.
I was right.
But yeah, it should be super cool. I'm glad that we all get together and get together in person rather for the show. You know, it should be a fun recording experience having all 5 of us here.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm excited for this.
Maybe if I'm lucky, I'll get a chance to go down to Crazy Coders, the most amazing arcade place in the world, or Bay City at
The
least.
side of the fucking Andes or Rockies or wherever.
Right.
Wherever you're at in the world, it's the best side of it.
Well, I know we'll be able to do that, but Andy might not be able to because he's going to be at a hockey game until late. So
Well, Josh is in town for Fortunately, he's in town for more than just those couple of days that I have to work.
All his time is already used up.
Yeah.
I already used it up. I got it all planned.
Oh, do you have a
8
schedule?
hours?
A schedule for,
I have a schedule
for
for
the
Josh.
two of you?
Yep.
8 hours of sitting head to head on a couch watching movies. What the hell? What does this mean?
Yes. So, all right,
So, yeah.
guys.
Yep, we're going to
Yeah.
talk to you one more time before Christmas, and then...
Then are we going to take a little break because of the holidays and I won't be around? So
Yeah, the holidays get a little crazy. They've already been pretty crazy. It's one of the
Yes.
reasons why I had to go to the audiobook on this one, because, man, life is just stupid crazy around the holidays.
plus it's late because power issues
Yep,
and
I had a power
laryngitis.
outage. Yep, Harold had a vocal outage.
I had a vocal outage.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I couldn't speak on the night we were going to record.
Yeah,
Yeah, you sounded rough that night, man.
No, I could not speak. My voice isn't back to normal.
It's so sexy.
Oh
though.
yeah, no, it's real raspy right now.
Yeah, you got to
It
keep
does,
that shit.
yeah, I
I
can
don't know what you
definitely
need to
hear that
do.
rasp a
Start
little
smoking cigarettes now.
Yo.
He already does.
I don't smoke cigarettes. I vape.
That's true.
I got my own. I got a douche flute.
so yeah, we got our extravaganza crossover episode. We got a holiday break, and then first episode out of the new year, we're going to be doing My Teacher Fried My Brains.
Nice. Hell yeah.
So yeah,
Well, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next week or so for the collaboration episode. And thank you again for having me on this episode.
absolutely.
Of course.
Love your show. Okay, so so we see you again. Give a shit. Read some lit.
Thanks for listening.
Grazie mille.
Peace out.